You're listening to RX Report, the show where you get your health, your news delivered. I'm your host, Manuel, coming to you from the home of pharmacy at the American Pharmacists Association in Washington, D.C. It's American Pharmacist Month, and so we have some special guests in the studio today to talk a little bit about what's going around the profession and what's coming for in the near future. I am joined today by Allison Hill. She is our APhA Director of Professional Affairs, and I'm also joined by Bridget Groves, the Vice President of Professional Affairs here at APhA. We're going to be talking to them about a lot, so be sure to click that like and subscribe button, leave a comment on anything and everything that we talk about today, and let's dive in. Allison, Bridget, you are our top leaders in terms of what is going to be coming for the pharmacy profession currently and in the near future. So I'm going to start us off with, what do you really see changing in the day-to-day responsibilities of pharmacists in the next 5-10 years?
Mason, there's probably a lot of things that we're going to see changing in the next 5 to 10 years. I think one of the things that pharmacists themselves are really looking forward to is continuing to grow their patient-centered care and the services that they deliver to provide that care to their patients. So we think about the role of the pharmacist traditionally being around dispensing medications, certainly administering vaccines, but we're seeing more and more pharmacists entering different types of practice settings and being that deliverer of direct patient care. So whether it's chronic disease management, so for patients that have diabetes, whether they're working in a specialty pharmacy and helping to manage some of those really high-cost, complex medications for patients with rheumatoid arthritis or other immunological conditions. We're seeing a lot of those pharmacists enter into that space more so. And as our practice models and as our facilities and settings continue to modify, we'll be able to have more pharmacists engage in that type of activity. I think one of the things that would enhance that too, though, is that evolving role of the technician. You know, Allison, I know that you've done some work and talking with some of our technicians and engaging in them. What do you think the role of the technician might look like?
Oh, wow. You just took the words out of my mouth. I think technicians are getting super excited about being able to do more than just count pills. Well, we as pharmacists, we've got to move away from that also by offering more patient care services. And once pharmacists are moving to offer more patient care services, this allows pharmacy technicians to take on a greater role. The biggest opportunity we've seen recently is with immunizations, where most states are allowing pharmacy technicians to administer those vaccines for their patients, and then also seeing, okay, there's more opportunity as a pharmacy technician than just standing behind the counter, which encourages us to encourage more people to go into that profession.
And the pharmacy profession has always been a profession of many hats. There's no one real column that you go down in order to perform just one single duty. But I am kind of curious where you see technology and such playing into that role. I mean, we've got AI coming down everywhere in every industry. Where do you see that affecting pharmacy right now, like either with community health, public health, digital health, anything like that?
I think digital health is a wonderful opportunity for pharmacists to be using it in their practice settings. We don't even think of all the different opportunities where it's apps or computer programs. All these things can help us serve our patients better. And I think that's where the biggest opportunity lies with technology in the future for pharmacy.
And going off of that, a lot of us have different wearable devices and technology that feeds us so much information as individuals, but sometimes it's hard to interpret or know what to do with that information. I mean, how many of us have step counters via our phones, and how many of us have a watch that might give you your sleep rating in the morning? What does that really mean, and how can we help? As pharmacists, we are trained to interpret data and to evaluate that, but then work with that individual patient. You know, perhaps they have their patient with diabetes and they're waking up around 4 a.m. every day. Maybe it's not because their brain is going in overdrive. Maybe it's because their blood sugar is lowering. And so helping them interpret that data from a lot of this technology is a huge opportunity for our pharmacists, as Allison was mentioning, and as a way for people to utilize what they already have without having to acquire something new. And I think the other kind of from that noise is, how does AI then help to kind of streamline some of that? But again, that can be so confusing for a patient. Like they get a report or they get a genetics report and they're like, what does this mean? Having that pharmacist there to lean in and walk that path with them and interpreting it and applying it to their specific patient condition is going to be so important.
And so that kind of leads into the new opportunities that are opening up for pharmacists. I mean, what opportunities do you see opening up for pharmacists in the near future in maybe non-traditional roles within the health?
There's probably quite a few. I mean, maybe
there's a long list of them. One of the good opportunities that we see all the time, and sometimes people don't think these are roles for pharmacists, is the opportunities in industry. There are quite a few APhA members that work in industry, and that is something a pharmacist wouldn't think of probably 20 years ago, that they would be patient education, marketing, communications, clinical trials, all these different opportunities that pharmacists are thriving in.
We see a lot of that in practice here at APhA. We have pharmacists doing everything from marketing to communications and policy, whatever else.
Then other opportunities, I would say, working with policy. There's pharmacists that are working on Capitol Hill right now, working for other associations that are working for health policy also. So those are some of the, I don't like to say non-traditional roles, because that means it's saying, a pharmacist is only supposed to be in a community pharmacy or a hospital pharmacy. No, these are roles that you may not be serving direct patient care, and you still have the opportunity to expand and work with patients. It may not be directly, but you're still helping the public and patients.
So it sounds like change kind of is the traditional profession for pharmacy. Like no matter what comes down the pipeline, that is the tradition for pharmacy, just because it's, again, a profession of many hats almost.
Of course, pharmacists have a great educational training, and you can have different opportunities, whether you get a master's or you get certificate training, or even any type of certificates that you can go and expand on your practice. But also it gives you the opportunity to think of, I may go in law, I may go in business, and how can I use these things to be the advantage because I know how to help.
Sure, and we have like a bunch of pharmacists in government right now, which is a great thing to see, and we can maybe hopefully see some policy changes there in appreciation of the profession. That actually kind of leads into what I was thinking when you brought up policy earlier. What policy changes are you hoping to see in the next decade, and what would be most effective for the profession in changing it for the better?
One of the things that the American Pharmacists Association, and that myself, and hopefully not putting too many words into Allison's mouth, is expanded opportunities for pharmacists through a standard of care regulatory model, indicating that a pharmacist receives a ton of training and education through school. Some pursue postgraduate training through residency programs, fellowships, or other degree issuing programs. And that training, that expertise, that knowledge that they have, letting them practice within the confines of that instead of putting a lot of specific hard and fast regulations into place. By and large, the human species is pretty risk averse, and so pharmacists fall into that. We're not going to go outside of what our typical scope and what we're comfortable working in and the patients that we usually see. And so having that type of regulatory model, which very much mirrors other types of healthcare clinicians and providers out there, will allow that pharmacist to truly optimize the training and expertise that they possess in order to optimize the care for the patients that they're working for, or the industry that they're participating in, or the changes in legislation that we want to see. So that's probably the main focus area, and then assuring coverage of and payment for pharmacist services. So a lot of health insurance plans right now don't necessarily recognize a pharmacist for the role that they play in the delivery of patient care.
Where a lot of medications can even be dispensed on a loss, I hear.
Yes. So dispensing on a loss, I mean, we can talk about that in a second, but, because that's a whole nother can of worms that definitely needs to be improved. And from the service delivery, it's kind of a complementary activity with the medication dispensing. So for some reason, diabetes is top of mind today, so I'll go back to that.
Because I'm here, yeah.
Helping our patients manage their blood pressure, or blood sugars, and, having that service to go along with it. But that wouldn't be an out-of-pocket cost for that patient. It would be a covered benefit to them through their insurance. And then to your point, seeing the reimbursement rates and management regulation of some of those pharmacy benefit managers is another area that we'd really like to see some additional policy change to assure that the pharmacist medications that they're dispensing are appropriately reimbursed. And then we have that service delivery side, again, being covered and recognized under the medical benefit.
So we're talking a lot about the change that we're hoping to see in the profession, the change that we're already seeing in the profession. But what do you see as the biggest barriers to this change, like whether it be regulatory, reimbursement, political, to any pharmacist practicing at their education and training level? There's got to be a lot of hurdles to cross.
I think of when some of the biggest hurdles are probably regulatory and political. Those aren't separate. They go hand in hand. If you have something that's a top issue, for example, right now, it's vaccines. It's a political issue, but it's also regulatory because pharmacists are affected what goes on, what governors are saying, what state legislators are saying, and what it's being said at the federal level. So this is a barrier in order to allow pharmacists to really be able to practice at what they should be practicing, what they're trained to do.
Like what they're good at, right?
Correct.
I also want to add that there are so many patients out in the United States and across the world that need care. And each type of clinician is trained to do a certain thing. Pharmacists are the medication experts. And when we're participating on a team, that's the role that we're really essential at filling and can do so through so many different avenues as we've previously described. But unnecessarily, there's concerns from other healthcare clinician types around, are we taking over patients? Are we scope creeping? Are we coming outside of what we should or shouldn't be doing? And
scope creeping being like there's just an influx of work that you don't have the bandwidth to perform all of that?
Scope creep is more thinking of a healthcare provider thinks, well, these are the activities that I can do. And if another healthcare provider wants to do one of those activities, then that's considered scope creep. Okay. And to me, I find scope creep a little bit ludicrous because we have a shortage. We have areas where there's healthcare provider deserts and people don't have access to care and they have to drive or commit to going to long distances to get care. We're not trying to do anything like that. We just want to help release the burden because everyone deserves care, accessible care, and that's what we should be worried about as in the United States.
So we need less of a stay in your lane mentality and more of we have a Venn diagram here, let's provide care where we can and work together as we should.
Yeah. Love that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Pharmacists are a great conduit and entryway into the healthcare system as well, recognizing where the limits of our training and expertise is, and then referring that patient on to that higher level of needed care.
You were bringing up how pharmacy is kind of the entry point into the healthcare system. What if I'm a young pharmacy student, I just graduated pharmacy school, and I am ready to hit the ground running in shaping policy in the profession itself? What advice would you give me in trying to get involved in shaping that policy?
One of the biggest things I would say, don't wait until you graduate. Start as a pharmacy student and get involved. And there's the student chapters for APhA, then also other pharmacy organizations have student chapters also.
Right.
And especially your state pharmacy association. Get involved. Start going to meetings. No one's going to say, oh, you're just a student. You don't know anything. Most of them are going to say, oh, we're excited that you're a student and you're here and you want to help the profession.
The more young people you get involved, the cooler you are as a state association, I'm sure. So that gives you more clout as well.
That's true. And then also there's scholarships and activities and grants you probably would have never even heard of and opportunities that will be bestowed upon you for getting involved. Then after graduation, continue to stay involved. We can't be the profession and we can't be the people that complain without doing anything about it. If you want to do something about it, you've got to get involved. And it starts with getting involved with organizations such as APhA or your state pharmacy association.
If I could summarize that, become a member. Become a member of APhA, of your state pharmacy association, wherever, but become a member. And then Allison was indicating, really get engaged and involved.
We'll leave a link in the description to become a member. You should do that. That'd be great.
Yes. One other item I wanted to add is, as a young student pharmacist or a new practitioner, you're probably looking for what do you want to do in your career and what jobs and opportunities might exist for you. You may or may not have heard this, and if you haven't, let me be the first to tell you the best jobs are not advertised.
Okay.
Your network is going to help you get where you want to be and open doors that you didn't know you were going to have opened or didn't know that that's where you would want to be. And so having opportunities to engage with each other through the profession, through your professional organizations and associations, attending meetings, raising your hand and volunteering for something, we all were there. We all had to start somewhere. It can be a little alarming, and that's okay. Feel uncomfortable with the uncomfortableness and then move on, and you'll have an incredible career ahead of you.
Doctors Allison Hill, Bridget Groves, thank you very, very much for being on the show. We loved having you, and happy American Pharmacist Month to you both.
Thank you.
And if you want to talk to Doctors Allison Hill and Bridget Groves, then be sure to leave us a comment. Click that like and subscribe button and let us know that you love the show. Our executive producer is Rob Hodges. Our creative producer is Kate Erdmann. And until next time, I've been your host, Mason Manuel. Be sure to tune in next Friday for more RX Report, where you get your health, your news delivered. But till then, bye y'all.